Now, after looking through it yourself, hopefully you actually took advantage of that. I mean, I tell you all the time, it looks just like the test, and yet I still have no people ask me questions, or very few people ask me questions. But the ones that are the ones that aren't scoring well need to ask me questions. So from looking at your final exam review for the part that you're going to take on Friday, what do you have questions on? Or need a refresher? Neil?
Why is only not like a block one instead of a I did it in I plotted on yeah, dot instead of
because dot plots have dots, and this one asks for a box plot.
yeah, I'm confused. No, I know that. No, we're not that stupid. No, like
It's not okay. Everyone take it down a notch. I don't think.
I'm so confused because
Okay. Why is it asking for a box plot? Because that's one of the things I taught you this year, so we got to test it on it. That's why. You want to ask instead, how do you make a box plot?
Yes, I do.
Okay, all right. So for a box plot, you need 5 values. What are those values?
No.
Not, you don't need the mean, you don't need the mode. Okay, so median, Q1, Q2 is the median of the whole thing. And then what else do you need?
Q3.
And then there's 2 more values that you need. What are they? Good. So minimum and maximum. So I usually start with the min and max. Those seem to be pretty easy. What's the minimum of my data set? What's my maximum? Good. So smallest and biggest value. And then next, you would have to find the median of the whole thing before you find your Q1 and Q3. What does median mean? The middle number. Now, before you just start going left, right, until you get in the middle, you need to make sure your numbers are in
Order.
numerical order. Are they in numerical order? Okay, good. So then I can just go left, right, and it has to be like a full left, right, and then whatever's in the middle. Sometimes you get one number in the middle. Sometimes you get 2 numbers in the middle. It depends how many data points you start with. So since it's an odd number, it's 15 data points for 15 members. I should just have 1 number in the middle. What do you do when there's 2 numbers in the middle?
Add and then divide by.
You add them together, divide by 2. What's that process called? Getting the average of them, or the mean of them, in other words. So yeah. But just 1 in this one because it's an odd number of data points. What is Q1? Definition of Q1? Quartile 1 is what it's called. What is it? Well, yes, it is the corner. Michael T.
median of the lower half.
Good. I even wrote it right here. So if you didn't know that, make sure write that down. Q1 is the middle of the lower half. So find your lower half of data. The median splits it in half. So find your lower half. And then again, do the left, right, until you get a middle number or middle 2 numbers. Never cross out your median. So I'm not including the 13 in my left, right. And if I had some 2 numbers in the middle, like let's say I had 2 13s in the middle, it was about, there's 2 numbers, let's say there were 2 numbers in the middle. Then my median is technically in between them, and then I would include them in like my left, right for each side, right? But there's only 1 number, so. So 7 is my Q1. What's my Q3? Again, left, right, left, right, so you get a middle number, a middle two numbers, and do that. All right, and that splits it into quarters. So you see I have like 3 Q1, 3 Q2, 3 Q3, and then 3 Q10. Make sense? So yeah, there you go. Those are the 5 values you need for your box plot. I already have one graphed, as you can see, someone asked about this earlier, but they do line up with the numbers we set. So like this one's counting by 1 each tick mark. So 6 would be here, 7 would be here, 13 would be here, 16 would be here, and 30 would be here. So you make your 5 dots. I usually make those first. Which dots get the vertical lines through them? Or make up the box? The quartiles. So the middle 3 dots, yeah. These ones make up the box, so you put vertical lines through them, and that makes your box. And then you connect the box to the minimum and the maximum. Good? All right. And then any other questions? Could still be from this one, could be from any others in the packet. Grant? Oh, that should not be on yours.
Oh.
Where are you looking? Oh, where did you see that? Oh, maybe it's for the histogram. I guess you can leave it. That's for, yeah, that's for honors. Sorry. The part, yeah, the part about the frequency table is for honors. Sorry. Just, you can exit that one out. The one that says frequency table. What else does it say on that table? So about wearing a watch and no watch, that one, that's the next semester thing. Sorry, I didn't know I had that in. If you want to see the other example, the one that's uploaded to Schoology, that PDF file that says Algebra 1 practice constructed response final, that's like the pretty version. I had already made 150 copies, so I wasn't gonna waste paper. Sorry. That's a pretty one with all the examples just for this. All right, any other questions from the packet? Michael T? Okay, good. That's a good one to go over. So here's one of your choices for unit 2. The other choice for unit 2 is in Schoology only, but you can take a look. Would you rather solve and graph a system of equations and show your work for it? Or would you rather match an inequality to the number line? Those are your 2 choices. But for this one, I like it because you can do process of elimination. Like, for example, number 1, based on the sign, I should be able to eliminate with what? And why can I eliminate all the closed circle lines? Because this symbol doesn't have a line underneath, so you don't fill in the circle. So based on that alone, for number 1, my options that it can match to are really just B, C, and D, right? That makes it a little easier. But here's how to actually know which one. So it says solve each inequality. When you're solving for a variable, what are you doing to that variable? Isolating it. So always start with what is. So would that be the 5 or the 10? And how do you get rid of the 10? You do what? Subtracting would eliminate it. Because you want it to be basically plus 0, right? So that's right, the 5x. So you would minus, not divide. Because dividing would make it 1. And it's a rule that whatever you do on one side of the symbol, good. And when I say symbol, I mean either equal sign or the inequality symbol. So, I mean inequality. So on the left, I have 5x. Do I need to flip the sign when I subtract? No, I don't need to flip the sign when I subtract. When do I need to flip the sign? A little more than that. When you multiply or divide a negative on both sides of the sentence. If you multiply or divide a positive, we don't care about that. But if you multiply or divide a negative, you need to flip the sign. So on the right side, what's 10 minus 10? Good. Opposite of multiplying by 5 is whatever you do on one side of the symbol. Do I need to flip the sign? No, because that was something on your head. No, because
It's not a negative.
it is not a negative that we're dividing by, so leave it alone. What's 0 divided by 5?
0.
Now, between B, C, and D, because we already said because of the symbol, it should be an open circle. Which one's the answer? D. It happens to be the only one that's on the 0. But let's say like there were 2 to pick from that were on the 0, and they just face different ways. How do you know, like, how can you check that you have the correct arrow? So just in case, like on your final, you have 2 that are really similar, like maybe you have one that is open circle, is on the 0, but it's facing the other way, how would you know which one to pick? Because x is less than 0, so I should be able to, well, let me back up. The opening always faces the bigger number. So we're saying that x is smaller than the 0, my arrow should be drawn on the numbers that are smaller. Like, is -2 less than 0? So that's the correct one. Is 4 less than 0? So then you wouldn't pick that one. Questions there? Okay. When in doubt, check it in Desmos, but then of course you also have to be able to read it. So that's why you need to know how to solve it too. So keep that in mind. Which, any of these specific ones that you need to see worked out? Okay, I heard 5 on this one, so we'll start there. All right, do we like working with fractions? No. We could maybe not work with fractions by doing what?
Solve.
Okay. How can I make it not a fraction? We can't solve it because this has an end. Multiply by the denominator, because opposite of dividing by -2
Is
is multiplying by -2, but it's a rule that whatever I do on one side of the symbol, you do to the other side. So now this cancels. I have 3x minus 5 on the left. Do I need to flip the sign? Yes, because I multiplied by a negative, so you can flip the sign. And then what's -8 times -2? Positive 16. And now it's a lot easier, isn't it? I'm gonna put the rest of the work down here. So from there, keep isolating the x, start with what's farther. What would I do next?
Plus, add 5.
Good, whatever you do on one side. Good. I get 3x greater than, what's 16 plus 5? And then opposite of multiplying by 3 is, good. Do you need to flip the sign for that? No, because the 3 is positive, so just leave it alone. So then x is greater than what?
7.
So then when I go back and I need to match it, We already said B goes with number one, so between B and C, those are the only other open circle ones. Which one will it be? B. For number one. Okay. Let's look at this one down here real quick. Same premise, like if you don't want to work with a fraction, how can you make it no longer be a fraction? Multiply by the denominator, and look, they happen to have the same denominator, so I really only need to multiply it by the 3 one time, bring up one fraction, so whatever you do on one side, you do to the other side. So then on the left side, make sure you distribute that 3 to both of them, so it ends up canceling both denominators. I get 14 minus x. Do I need to flip the sign? Nope, I multiply to positive 3. And then what's x times 3?
3x.
And then you keep going. When I have an x on both sides, before like continuing to isolate, I should probably move the x to one side. Does it matter what side I move it to? No. So just pick one and move it. Which one do you want to move? The left one, how do I move it? And I like that strategy. I usually move the smaller one, so it's less likely that I have a negative, and it's less likely I forget to switch the line. So then I have 14 less than or equal to, what's 3x plus x?
4x.
4x. Opposite of multiplying 4 is dividing by 4. This is a little ugly, but it is what it is. It's x. Do I need to flip the sign? So opening facing the x still. 14 divided by 4, that's 7 over 2, or what as a decimal? 3.5. And which one does that best match? F is on the 6, so not that one. E. Best matches E. That's number 6. All right, any others from the packet? No. Going around. So for 4B, I like that choice for the 4B is what it is on your paper. Because if you really understood the last unit, and you did well on the constructed response, this is basically another question of that. If you didn't understand the last unit, maybe try the other one, but this one is a duplicate of what we just did the test on. So, E is the function that gives the cost in dollars of mailing a letter from Japan to the US based on the weight of the letter and hour. Here's the rule. How much does it cost to send a letter that weighs 1.8 ounces? And how do you know? Good. The 1.8 ounces is the weight. Replace it in here, see which one it best matches. It best fits in this one, right? Between 1.5 and 2. So it costs $2.03. So they kind of do it a little bit weird. This is more like the output. And then this is more like the rules for the input, the way that this one. So you figure out where your input falls within, and then go with that expression. Is that not the right one? Oh. Let's see. Well, okay, no, you have to flip the paper. The one on the front is the example. One on the back is like the practice for you. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
So this should match up, right? So the other one literally has the answers on the page. Yeah, what if, so this isn't what it's asking, but just so we're all on the same page. What if it's two exactly? Is it gonna be $2.03 or $2.76?
$2.
And why?
That's because all.
But it has the equal to part on the two here versus down here. So that's how you know. So how much does it cost for 3.5 ounces?
Doesn't get it.
Good. So then, scrolling down, it says sketch a graph of the function on the coordinate plane. So that should look like the one from your test. Hopefully you got it right. Or I'll show you how to do it right now. So it starts, like my first range is 0 to 1.5. But when is it exactly 0? Are we paying attention?
No.
So
Not exactly.
for the very first part, my output is just one number, so that means my y is 1.75. And then my input starts at what number? At 0, but is it equal to 0? Does it have an equal to line underneath it? So then what type of circle will go on that coordinate? Open. So then scroll down. 0, 1.75 has an open circle on it. Make sure you know what it's counting by. 1.75 would be between 1.5 and 2. And then when does it stop costing 1.75? 1.5 exactly. So at 1.5 and 1.75, so 1.5 on the X. I know it gets confusing when there's multiple decimals, but one is your input, one is your output. And then in between them, they all cost the same, don't they? So it should be a straight line. Good. And then you keep it going. Where would my next open circle be on? What's the X value there? So 1.5, 2.03 has an open circle. Find that on your graph and put an open circle there. That would be like right above the 2. Like that. And when does it stop costing 2.03? At the 2 exactly. So where the 2 is for the X, same level, same height, it costs us 2.03. Okay. And then the last part, at the 2 or above the 2, it costs what amount? So at the 2, 2.76, what type of circle will be there? So find that. That would be like right here-ish. And when does it stop costing that much? At the 3.5. And then based on that symbol that's next to the 3.5, I should have a closed circle. And then connect them because in between that it costs the same amount. Good. So they don't have to be equal segments. I think someone said that on their test, like, no, they don't have to be. It just depends on what the rules are. And for the describe what each piece means, honestly, just give me a summary of what's going on in the real world problem. There's a summary on that front of your paper if you want to read theirs. And if those things they copy it, replace the numbers. But you could say above 0 up to 1.5 ounces, it costs 1.75. Easy enough. And then the next segment, above 1.5 up to 2, it costs 2.03. And then above 2 up to 3.5, it costs 3.7, or sorry, 2.76. I would definitely make sure that the open circles you say above, because it doesn't include them. But then you can say up to for the post. Good. All right, others, if any. Why? Yeah. All right, so is that it? You guys want to work on the rest of it yourself? Okay, so tomorrow we're doing the same thing, probably since we got so much done on this one. We can really focus on that puzzle piece that's in Schoology for your on final exam day. But that's really it, so then Friday you're testing, and then when I see you on Monday, you're testing, and then that's it. So if you have questions, make notes of them, so that you can ask when they come.
What category of stuff?